We just defeated King DDD. Let's recover and have a chat. Here with me, I have Brad, who is a very opinionated person on a lot of game franchises and stuff like that. Hi, Brad.
Hello, and I am a little opinionated.
We have Gerardo, avid video game collector and overall Sony fanboy.
Greetings.
And Teresa, who we've done some projects before in the past and is also pretty opinionated at times.
Hello, welcome back to the podcasting hot seat. Myself, I don't know who I'm welcoming back. It's just me talking to myself now.
And also me.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Hunter, and I am also here. I'm okay. Did you ask who am I or how am I?
Who?
Who? Oh, sorry. I asked how. My name is Hunter. And I think that's all that needs to be said about that. There was a Nintendo Direct, guys.
It seems like it's been forever.
What a freaking Direct it was, too. It has been forever. Usually Nintendo does these in like the beginning of February. So I think that a lot of us were kind of expecting this one. What are our overall kind of feelings on it?
I'm going to defer to Gerardo first.
Yeah. All right. Well, the first half, they didn't really have us in the first half, but the last half was pretty good.
Well, now hold on. They had me right away at Pikmin.
Are you saying Pikmin didn't move you?
Yeah. I mean, I like Pikmin. I like Pikmin 1. It was kind of like most of the rest of the stuff in the first half that didn't really catch my attention. After that, I was like, oh, so I guess Pikmin 4 was their main thing for this for now, and then it's gonna be random third-party stuff until Tears of the Kingdom, and then they proved me wrong.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of first-party things in the first half as well, actually, as I'm looking at it, and but most of it was kind of leaning towards the second half.
We knew
what about everyone else, Brad? How did you how were you feeling about it?
I was pleasantly surprised by a couple of things, and honestly, a lot of the Direct was a quick reminder of the things that Nintendo were actually doing. So, I guess as we go through each of the games that they showed off, I'll let people know whether or not I forgot about them. But
it was a pretty packed Direct. It was like 40 minutes. There's a lot to forget.
It was there was a lot to remind me on. But overall, there was a couple of surprises in there that I actually really appreciate. So, I would probably give it like a good solid B, a B. Yeah, not top tier because Smash isn't around anymore, but it was still a good showing.
I mean, does the Zelda news kind of make up for it?
No, in fact, it took it from a B+ to a B.
Fair enough.
Well, I wanted to point out that it's the first time in a while that F-Zero has come up in Nintendo's mouth somehow. After they seem to think that we as Nintendo fans don't remember F-Zero. It's kind of surprising and amusing to see it come up in Virtual Console, but that's for later. I overall enjoyed the Direct. I watched it all the way through the first time, and then about halfway, or sometime after that day. And my main takeaway was it was definitely a Nintendo Direct. It wasn't the worst one, but it also wasn't the best.
So apparently Gerardo doesn't have too strong opinions on Pikmin 4, but I am a massive Pikmin fan, and I cannot wait for just more Pikmin content in general. And just to kind of see the things that they're adding with Pikmin 4 and some of the more spooky looking things that are happening at night and stuff too, like the actual night mode is super cool to me.
As somebody who's never played Pikmin, can you explain? I know very little about the Pikmin lore, and at least the only thing that I get is that normally at night you go home, but this time it looks like there's going to be some spooky stuff at night, like you said.
Home is a strong word.
You go back to your planet. If we're supposed to... I'm going off of only what we know from Olimar and Alph from Smash.
Right.
And the name of their final Smash being End of Day.
So at the end of the day, they hide up in their ship because the planet that they're on has a bunch of kind of monsters that it will attack and like eat their Pikmin if they don't like put their Pikmin away, and will attack you if you don't get away in time as well. So the kind of idea behind Pikmin, you know how like Nintendo always needs to have like a weird spin on like everything that they do. So like,
Sure.
what if Nintendo made a shooter? Well, it's about a bunch of like octopus and stuff shooting ink everywhere to make the ground like you're not actually shooting each other. You know, it's not like a first-person shooter like Call of Duty or something. You always kind of have to have this weird kind of spin on it. Pikmin is what if Nintendo made an RTS?
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I've always really liked it. You're like kind of running around as the character and kind of ordering your Pikmin around to go like pick things up, mainly to the main goal is to like fix your ship in the first game, for example. So you go around collecting all the different parts of the ship to put it together, and so that way you can finally escape or not, which there's an alternate ending for that. And regarding the Pikmin lore that you were talking about earlier, it's there. No one really cares about it, but it goes pretty deep. Like Olimar,
Yeah.
like it becomes a Pikmin, and like there's a bunch of like what even is a Pikmin in the first place.
So as an outsider looking in on this series, I see like they're kind of in a semi similar real world Earth, because there's like houses and the trailer it showed you were like in the backyard of a house, and but why is this a different planet somehow?
There, even in the first game, you're in kind of like a post-apocalyptic like looking version of Earth, and
Is it like WALL-E?
No,
it's
not
kind
like
of
that.
nebulous. It's kind of confusing because there's a lot of like things like bottle caps and stuff like that, and like park benches, like you can tell are like definitely from the Earth that we recognize. But then there's all of these monsters around, right? They also like these like tiny little monsters, and then you're also tiny and little, but like not from that planet, even though you look humanoid. That's why I said like the lore is definitely there. As far as what happened in the past, nobody knows. Why are you on
crash
this
land on
abandoned
it.
planet? Who knows?
Because Miyamoto said so.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you just landed on it. Actually, you
Hmm.
crashed there by accident in the first game, but then after that, the information is out there, and then other explorers go and stuff.
I like to believe it's just part of the Metroid universe.
Well, have you played Mario RPG like some of the other games? Because you're probably not too far off. You're probably
Yeah.
actually not that far off. So, anyways, does anyone else care about Pikmin 4? Or is it just me?
Well,
I wouldn't
do-
say that I don't
I-
care, but like I've just never played the series, and I'm sure I'd be very excited if I did.
I did
Yeah.
play the series, so I've beaten the first Pikmin. I
Mhm.
loved it. I played through a lot of the second Pikmin. I thought it was fine. It was more of the same.
Yeah.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't it come out on the Wii U? Pikmin 3?
Yeah, but
I
then there
believe
was
so.
a Switch port too. I haven't played Pikmin 3 actually.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Pikmin 3 kind of being the odd one just because it came out on an all, like, unfortunately dead platform. Not a lot of people played that one. So, in a lot of respects, I think it's been since Pikmin 2 since people really got into Pikmin. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of, been a long time since people have actually laid eyes on a Pikmin.
Oh well, I know that they released a mobile game by the same people who did Pokemon Go.
Oh, they
Uh,
did.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
Pikmin
Yeah.
Blue.
Forgot about
That's about I don't know, finding Pikmin in the real world and planting flowers or something.
Sounds an awful lot like Pokemon Go.
I've taken a cursory glance at the game itself, but not being into Pikmin, I just kind of like put it down.
Yeah, remember Miyamoto did like a 20-minute presentation on Pikmin Bloom in like
Yeah.
the last Nintendo Direct or something.
Oh wow!
And then nobody
That's a
played.
long time.
Yeah.
There was also the Hey Pikmin for the 3DS that no one played also. I
Oh,
played the
yeah.
demo for it, but it was actually pretty fun, but I think that a lot of us were kind of waiting for Pikmin 4 because they announced that they were doing Pikmin 4 like 10 years ago, and then Miyamoto said that it was basically done years ago, like pre-pandemic. He was like, "Oh yeah, the game's almost done. We're like just about to release it." And then like 5 years went by, and then like we didn't hear anything about it. It's literally been 10 years since Pikmin 3 came out almost. So in July it'll have been 10 years.
They're sticking to their philosophy of not producing a game until it's
It's
absolutely
ready.
finished, and they will push a game no matter how far.
So Nintendo also has a habit of developing games to completion and then waiting for the right time to.
I'm thinking Star Fox 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. That game basically was done.
They wait 20 years before they release that one.
And that they released
Yeah.
it on the mini NES or whatever it was.
Yeah.
SNES Mini,
The Super
yeah,
Nintendo.
Uh-huh.
for some reason.
I think it also came to Switch Online too.
Yes,
I'm
Did
not
it?
Sure. Well, it did.
yes, it did.
I did not know that. I'm going to play it then. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pass, guys.
Okay,
This is what
so
you get for killing Granddad. That's all I remember from the trailer. Is that line.
So I got excited because I completely forgot that there was even expansion passes to this game.
Mm.
I haven't played any of the deals for any of the games.
2 of the
Most-
volumes are already out, right?
Yeah.
Volumes
So
1
this
and
is
2.
volume 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
When this game came out, I binged it for the week that it was out. I beat it. I got all my story out of it. I got all my tears, everything, and I just never revisited. I don't know what the DLCs go for, but me and Hunter, we've talked about this. The Xenoblade series are not, at least to me, not known for their gameplay. It's mostly about the story, the adventure of the world. So,
Man, we could probably have an entire podcast just about opinions on Xenoblade. You and I have
Yes.
probably talked for hours in like hour-long sessions or more just about how much I dislike Xenoblade.
and how much I love it.
My question is to somebody who's only played the games that don't have DLC, at least in terms of story. Like, why? What's the point to DLC, especially additional characters in a game like
So-
Xenoblade?
In the remake of the first game, there was actual story DLC, right?
Yes. So the
Hmm.
first game did add post game like content that kind of linked up some of the other games, as well as like kind of what all these characters did after their great adventure. I didn't play it, but I know that it's important.
Didn't Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have a prequel?
It did. It did. It also had a prequel, kind of gave you backdrop as to what exactly all happened. But that's another one I didn't play because to me, I got the story that I wanted, and I didn't watch the OVAs.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
But I mean, there were other DLCs like other blades that were nice to look at.
So
It's about
So
it.
is that what that is? Like,
There was definitely more.
Is it more so because I have no idea what the mechanics of 3 are? But the blades, from what I'm trying to understand, are kind of like just different, for lack of a better word, skills that you could equip.
In like the universe, blades are just kind of like the weapons, and in Xenoblade 2, they manifest themselves as like kind of people.
yeah, they're like characters.
So they're
to
weapons
them.
that are now people, and yeah, so you gotta basically like kind of Pokemon-ish. You collect them all in that game, and it kind of became a waifu simulator.
Sure.
Which, depending on if you like that sort of thing, that's great. I didn't, but you can like it.
So with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, how does the DLC? It seems like Volume 4 is going to have a lot of interesting DLC stuff or like story stuff going on. But in
Yeah.
Volume 3, what's kind of the point? I know that there's like those like roguelike challenges that they added now where like you select one character and then you go through some challenges with them. But then like the new character that they added, if you've already beaten the game, what is there to do with the new character Mash?
Every character that you get, there are kind of like side quests associated with that character. So if you are
Okay.
inclined with the characters, you can understand their story and what makes them tick. You also do that with all the characters that you pick up. They all have their own part. Well, I say heart missions, but I think that might be more of a remnant of the older games. But they all have their own side missions, their own area, and I assume it's going to be more of that with this new character. Yeah, but
Okay, so they're gonna have, so they each kind of have their own story alongside the main story.
yeah, a lot of the Xenoblade games kind of play like an MMO to a certain extent, where you have a lot of these side side missions and side stories. Some are better than others. A lot of this is just adding one more. Not enough for me to care too much about Volume 3, but maybe Volume 4.
It kind of reminds me, in a way, of how Nintendo, or I guess Game Freak, will release mythical Pokemon in a game that that's been done for like almost over a year and stuff like that.
Except
And,
at least with Xenoblade 3, it sounds like there's a little bit more story involved with it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there's already like new characters, isn't there? Like, didn't Wave 2 add at least like one new character or something like that? So you haven't gone back and played any of it yet?
No. Again, I
Okay.
didn't even realize there was DLC. This was one of those like, oh, by the way, just a reminder. I think me personally, with my schedule, what I'll probably do is do what I did with the first Xenoblade, which I'll take a look, see how long it takes for me to beat that DLC, and if it's too long, I'm going to watch a Let's Play.
Okay, fair.
These games, the one point that I'll cede to Hunter on, I don't think these games are fun enough to play to justify the length. I think
Xenoblade
the-
isn't fun. You heard it here first. Don't play it.
to justify the length. I didn't say it wasn't fun, but I don't think it's 100 hours worth of fun. I think the most of the fun that you'll have from the game is like exploring the story, the characters, the world, and getting to that finish line. That's going to be anime. It's going to be very anime, and it's great.
Okay, so we'll maybe circle back once it's finished, and if you decide that like you want to go down the story, it sounds like there's actually going to be quite a significant amount of DLC for you to enjoy afterwards. There's some like really cool story. I think that's like an older version of Shulk and Rex
Mm-hmm.
in there. So like that alongside of all the new characters that they've added, I think that it seems like there's going to be quite a bit that you could enjoy.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if I go back to try to play the Volume 4 DLC. I wouldn't be surprised if I do that, because I do love Shulk. I love Shulk as a character.
How about Samba de Amigo? How do we guys feel about Samba de Amigo?
Gerardo, you have thoughts?
I mean, no, I don't really have that many thoughts on it. I like the I know the classic games had those like Maraca controllers, correct? That was Samba de Amigo.
I have no idea.
I can't imagine any other game using maracas as a controller.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe Jungle Beats.
Oh, yeah.
I think I just personally struggle to see this game doing well in the modern American market, but maybe I'm just wrong.
The art style had me right away, and then I saw the gameplay, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely not going to play this, unfortunately.
I don't know. It's an option. It's I'm kind of when they first showed it off, I don't want to get too into it because it's not really relevant, but I was like, oh, the NFT monkeys made a game.
Those ugly
and,
monkeys.
Yeah, that was the peak of my interest of that trailer. Aside from shaking a Joy-Con kind of sounds fun in sort of a rhythm game style like that. I think the biggest praise I can give to it is I would like to try it out. I wouldn't buy it, but I would like to try it out.
I'd like a demo.
Yeah.
I think a demo would have been nice.
It looks like a mix between like what you might call like a standard rhythm game format and the way Just Dance played on the Wii,
Mm-hmm.
where it just tracks the remote position, or not really the remote position, but the remote's movements.
Well, that's more notes than I thought that any of us would have on it. Fashion Dreamer, probably another thing that I
Alright,
thought that
no.
nobody would have any notes on it, but please take it away, Teresa.
Yeah. Let me push up my nerd glasses for a moment and introduce you to the world of Style Savvy that isn't really Style Savvy. In the last that we've talked, for the listeners, we've been friends for a really long time, since middle school.
Yeah.
All of us.
And there's a certain point, not to get into it too much, but we kind of stopped talking for a bit. In that time, I really got into the Style Savvy series. It's a very fun game, if you'd believe it. At least it tickles my brain in the way that a good game does for me. It's very repetitive in a way that makes it fun for me. I could see why it wouldn't be fun for other people though. A big meme on my Twitter is every direct I'm like, all right, fucking no Style Savvy again. I guess we're just not having one on Switch because at a certain point they even stopped relying on North American localization for the game. And the last game that came out was they just released the British version of it, or I guess the UK. I don't know what the terminology would be in that case, but the British dub was used instead of an American localization. I think that was kind of the final nail in the coffin for the series in my mind, because you know, it's still, at the end of the day, it's still Style Savvy who's really playing it. It was influential enough to get a song in Smash Brothers, which was news for me. That's not the best song they could have picked from the game, but whatever. I don't know. This new game, while not called Style Savvy, it's developed by Sin Sophia, which is the developer of Style Savvy.
Oh, so it's basically a Style Savvy game.
Yes, but no. It's also developed by Marvelous Entertainment and the other anime booby game developers. Marvelous and somebody else are typically anime booby game developers. And when I see those two names together with Style Savvy, as far as we've seen, is not that type of game. But the quality of those games are normally not the best in terms of just how fun they are, I suppose. Like, you can only get so much out of an anime. It's more so like a one and done type situation. I don't know. It kind of reminds me, I brought it up to somebody else. You know how like Harvest Moon stopped being Harvest Moon at some point?
Right.
And became a different series. It's kind of like that, I feel. And while it's pretty cool to finally see you can choose a male character, because they started to introduce male fashion in the previous game as an option to sell at your boutique. It doesn't look like the old Style Savvy gameplay of dealing with clients and selling them clothes actually is what this game is about.
It could be that just not a lot of the game elements have been revealed yet. So that could totally be a part of the game. But
so I know that not a lot of you or anybody really probably knows how the gameplay actually works. So the main, like, I guess rotation you want to call it is you go on this like day by day basis and you're running this shop. You have customers come in, they say, I would like this type of clothing and this type of style. And you just, if you have it in stock, you show it to them and they'll be like, I like this or I don't like this. And then you're like, okay, if you don't like it, I can go get something and maybe it'll come back sometime and I can sell it to you. That's kind of like the standard gameplay. But the last game was actually quite lengthy. There was like at least 40 hours of solid like story for whatever reason. It was kind of a good game to go out on if that's truly what they want the last Style Savvy to be, but I don't know. I'm kind of excited but scared at the same time, considering the developers. But you know what? I'll trust them for now, because even if it is a different name, it's still Sin Sophia who developed Style Savvy, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and so we'll see what happens.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but I do have a sister that plays like the fashion games in Roblox. And a lot of what I see from this game, I think Roblox have been doing for years. So I'm wondering how much of that intertwined and whether or not that's something that she might actually like. Because she has a Switch too.
I've played many style games that have been on Nintendo systems just out of curiosity to see if they measure up to Style Savvy, and none of them ever do.
Yeah.
There's just a certain Nintendo quality to Style Savvy, which I was surprised by, and which is why I got into the series. Is like, you wouldn't think that with a name like that, and how typical, I guess people would be like, why are you playing a fashion game? Like, aren't those for
just a girly
babies?
dress up game? What are you
Straight
playing?
Yeah,
it's shoveware to Wii.
Yeah, and it's not. It's like really kind of deep for no reason, and there you can fail, and like if you don't know what they're asking for, it's kind of difficult at times, I suppose.
It's better than it has any right to be.
Correct. Yeah, that's the phrase I'd use. It's better than it has any right to be. And the last game, they had like actual voice acting and kind of like anime type music, which is one of the songs that ended up in Smash Brothers. The story of that game is you're kind of like you're the style designer choice maker for several different idols. And one of the songs they chose is like one of the songs that the idols sing. They all have different, songs, and yeah, I mean that's kind of probably a bit too much info, but it's
So what I'm hearing
hmm,
is that this game got voice acting before Pokemon did.
yes, it's not full on voice acting, but there's voice acting.
Okay, hang on. I
Dang.
think I'm one of the only people that thinks Pokemon should never get voice acting.
What?
Well,
I don't want it. It would sound so cringy.
I don't disagree.
That's not the point, though. It's a children's game. It's
I don't
okay if
like
it's
that
cringy.
excuse in general.
All right. Okay, well, that's
Fair enough.
more information that I thought that we would also get out of Fashion Dreamer.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sorry. I
no,
have
that's
high
good.
hopes, but I'm also scared. I'm scared. I'm high hopes though.
I'm glad that somebody cares at all about this game.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's very pog, as the kids would say.
hey, Brad, how is that copy of Dead Cells that I gave you? How
I
are
thought
you
I gave
enjoying
that
it?
back.
No, you never
I thought I
did.
gave that back. Oh.
You told me that you never played it, and then you were like,
I never
"Oh yeah, sure,
did.
I'll give it back to you." The collector's edition that I pre-ordered and all of that, and then I was like, "Okay," and then I never got it back. I kind of want to play
will
Dead
have to
Cells
pull-
now that this DLC is coming out.
I will have to give that back, or I might give it back to you after this DLC because I'm a huge Castlevania fan.
I'll check
I-
back in 5
so-
more years and see if this holds true.
So,
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep track on that. He sold my copy of Brawl.
that's right.
What a dick!
Oh, I am not being painted
That's a
as
dead
too
game
good
years
image
ago.
here.
He's doing you a favor.
They're so hard to find online now. Copies of Brawl.
Well,
And he's
I got a replacement at a thrift shop, but it's like all beat up, missing the manual.
Your complete copy of Brawl. Oh my god! I gave Brad the collector's edition, Gerardo. This, don't scare me.
my selling days are over, but my keeping them and holding on to them for multiple year days, that seems to be intact.
I hope so. Out of fear of never receiving it again.
By the way,
Um.
Teresa, I think I still have your Wind Waker.
for GameCube.
No, yes.
I do still have my GameCube games, and I haven't looked at them in a while, but I wouldn't be surprised.
The last time I checked, I think I had.
Wow, that's just fantastic.
Well,
someone has my
back-
copy of Majora's Mask for the 3DS. I don't know who, but I'm suspecting Brad at this point.
No, I had that game. No, I had that one. I had no reason to borrow it. Don't check the receipts though.
Maybe you have it because it's mine. Okay.
Anyway, back to Castlevania. I mean, Dead Cells.
It looks pretty sweet.
It does look cool. Actually, I had to do a double take because I just thought it was Castlevania. I wasn't paying attention at this point in the direct. Sorry, Fashion Dreamers, but when I checked back in, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Some good's coming up, and then I saw Dead Cells, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's cool.
As someone who's never played Dead Cells and who's barely played Castlevania, it looks pretty sweet.
It does look on point. It looked like it did a very good job capturing that old style Castlevania feel.
Which Dead Cells already does really well. Dead Cells is like a
Yep.
really polished, more roguelike version of Castlevania, which Castlevania already was like accidentally a roguelike before that wasn't even a thing.
Well, you could call it a pioneer, I guess. But yeah, no, I don't have much else to say about that outside of looks good. Looks like a Castlevania game dressed up like, or Dead Cells dressed up like Castlevania.
You made me curious, so I looked at my GameCube games, and the only two games that are in here are Animal Crossing and NBA 2003.
Sounds like there's a lot missing, actually.
Brad just has all of them. He sold half your collection. You didn't even know. Does anyone care about Tron?
No.
Yes.
All right,
Oh.
Gerardo.
I actually have something to say about this.
Take the floor.
Okay.
Man,
So-
I love doing this podcast. I can't believe
No
anyone
one really
cares
knows
about Tron
this.
Identity.
No one really knows this, but Tron actually has an expanded universe with lore.
I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Okay,
You know, the
on the Xbox, it was a first-person shooter.
Donald and Goofy went in there with Sora one time.
Oh yeah, that.
Sorry.
Before that, okay.
Yeah. That was
Go
in
ahead,
Dream
sorry.
Drop, right?
Oh.
Oh, that was in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
it too.
it-
Oh, was it also in Dream
It was
Drop?
also-
It
it
was
was
in
also
Dream
in
Drop
Dream
also,
Drop, yep.
wasn't it? It was the reboot, that version that was in Dream Drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never
I'm
played
sorry,
that
I
one. I
played
played two.
Go ahead.
But anyways, so on the Xbox, they released a game called Tron 2.0 Killer App, and it was meant to be a direct sequel to the first movie. And it was a first-person shooter. It was kind of whatever, but I did play through it, and that game actually set up Tron Legacy, the movie, which ended up coming
The
out
hell?
like 10 years later, which I
That's-
just find really interesting. I haven't played the rest of the Tron games, but I just think it's interesting. So seeing them releasing a Tron visual novel out of nowhere, I actually think it's kind of cool. But it is just a visual novel.
Are they setting up another movie?
Yeah, I believe they are.
I think Disney's running out of money, so they need to make another Tron movie.
Probably a TV show. But
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I could see a Tron Disney Plus, Joe.
It looks
can
like
see
there's two different canons. There's the main Tron canon and then the Tron 2.0 canon.
really,
So
That's
the
weird.
from
and
what
the
I
tr-
played, it felt like they could have matched with. There would be a little bit of retconning, but I feel like for the most part, it made sense. And like they name dropped Tron Legacy as like an element in the game. It was like Tron Legacy was an update to the grid that would revamp it.
Interesting.
So then when in Tron Legacy, the movie, when they go into the grid and the grid looks completely different, that's
Right.
because that's the update.
So
Nice.
the reason why the graphics are better isn't just because graphics got way better over the years. It's also because
They got
there's an
updated.
in-canon reason. Yeah,
Yeah, the grid got
program
updated.
got it. That might be the reason. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about Tron, but that might be the reason why there's Tron and Tron 2.0, these two different canons. Maybe one revolves around one grid and the other revolves around the other. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Any potential Tron
It could be
people
that
are gonna hate me, but
It could be that it conflicts more later on because I didn't read the comics and I didn't play the. They made a bunch of games when Tron Legacy came out, like I think Tron Evolution, and then there was a TV show with like multiple seasons.
Tron Uprising.
But yeah,
is the TV
I haven't
show.
gone that hard into Tron. I played that one game and it like showed me that there was a little bit more, and I thought that was very interesting. But that's about all I got to say about Tron Identity.
Looks like we're gonna look forward to a new show then.
Tron Identity probably matters in some capacity. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, guys.
I don't remember that.
I
Me neither.
when Ghost Trick, I think there was like a 3DS game or something like that.
It was a DS game.
Oh, just a DS.
Mhm.
I wanted to play it, but then I just never got around to it. And I think I completely forgot that it even existed.
I played. I didn't finish it, but I played it because I was in this. I had a weird DS era around where I would just be picking up random games from GameStop in the used games, and I think Ghost Trick was one of those games at some point.
Hmm.
And I remember liking it, but not enough to finish it, I suppose. It kind of involves thinking a little bit too much for my taste.
It's more puzzly.
Yeah,
And just to stay on the topic of like, I don't know, legal games. I don't know how else to
Legal-
describe that. Deca Police.
Legal puzzlies.
oh, legal games, police games.
police games. I don't know, being in a lawyer or whatever.
Grand Theft Auto count as a police game?
Yes.
Actually, speaking of which, there's some Professor Layton stuff too. But the
It
Deca
counts as
Police
a police
game,
game.
Deca Police looks super sweet.
You know what? I'm glad that you think so, Hunter. I
look forward to the next
I-
15 minutes of you talking about it.
I certainly appreciate the style of it. I think it's pretty cool. But it kind of reminds me of I think it was just because at the end of the direct, which I mean, not to talk about that right now, but they talked about that by the people who did Danganronpa, that same art style, they kind of had a similar-ish game where you're kind of like deducing crimes or whatever.
Right.
You talk about Rain Code?
Maybe?
I think so.
I don't know. They just kind of seemed like similar ideas. You're still doing detective work. It's a police game.
I was gonna think there's a lot of crime-based games actually. In this
Yeah.
direct. And I just like the art style of Deca Police. I think that I really like turn-based combat games also. I like when combat kind of feels like puzzles, and with like the moving around and stuff like that they were showing, like the enemies staying still, but it looks like they can still attack you or something. But then it's your turn, and then you're like moving around on the area to like attack them in like a certain way. It just looked really cool. I like those kind of like brain teaser, kind of almost puzzly kind of turn-based games, especially. So that's why the gameplay of this just kind of really interested me right away.
Sure.
I mean, the art style interested me right away. So I don't know if I'll get around to playing it. I really hope that it's not super long and that I actually have the time to play it, because I would love to give this one a try.
Yeah.
And it also has like the same like battle system as I really like games that have the battle system that have like the character, like it shows the turns in order, like based on speed and stuff like that, and like the corner. For some reason that kind of battle system just looks really intuitive to me, probably because it's something that I wish a lot of like classic Final Fantasy games had and stuff. In any event, how do we guys feel about Bayonetta Origins? I haven't played any Bayonetta games.
Yeah,
I actually think it looks great.
It looks cool.
I agree.
Me and Brad were talking about it a little bit before everybody showed up, and I was like, I've never played Bayonetta before, but this game looks kind of cool.
I've played the first one, but I appreciate how it's like you wouldn't consider Bayonetta to traditionally look like a Nintendo game, but this game looks like a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
And I just find that interesting.
So this is the first one out of all this so far that actually stopped my now fiance. She looked at that and actually was like, wow, that looks really fun. This is a Bayonetta game? And I'm like, yeah, this is a Bayonetta game. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
Normally I'm like, I didn't expect the game to look so cutesy and so Okami-like. Like, it has that style, and I've never played an Okami game, and I think she would really like this game.
I'm definitely interested in it. I don't know. I haven't played any of the Bayonetta games. They've interested me, but I've just never gotten around to them. I wonder how much of this game will matter to the overarching Bayonetta story, to where like, do I need to play those other games or not? I think it's like a prequel or something, right?
It's a prequel. It's kind of a prequel. It looks to be completely different and unique, especially in terms of gameplay.
If anything,
it's not a beat 'em up.
If anything, plot-wise, you could play the first game first. Just because of the plot of the first game in relation to what this game is going to be about. But other than that, it's like totally just a prequel, and probably I think it might tie into something in Bayonetta 3, but I haven't played that game, so I don't know that for sure.
Bayonetta 3 is unique. I know the story of it. I haven't played it. I played 1 and 2, but I know that Bayonetta 3 is kind of unique in the story-wise.
In any event, how do you guys feel about Splatoon 3? Have any of you guys played Splatoon 3?
Not 3. I played 1 and 2. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough time to delve into another Splatoon game. But I know that between 1 and 2, I had a lot of fun. I like the second DLC, that Side Order. I appreciate them kind of going into the Octolings. They look cool. I really like their design, and I want to see more of that. I do watch clips every now and again on YouTube, though, so I'm not entirely divorced from Splatoon, but that's about all I can say on Splatoon 3.
I think that the DLC, the what's called the Side Order DLC, looks pretty interesting, because the entire idea behind Splatoon is that you're trying to color the battlefield like one side wins, right? And so to introduce a DLC, a story, I think looks like a story DLC, that's entirely based on a plain white colorless world is really interesting. Like, are you trying to bring color back to it? You know, they didn't give us any details. They literally just like showed that one scene and then that was it.
And the octopus, like the creature, the animal, they just put out ink, so it makes sense that's just black and white with the, I believe it's the Octoling character.
True. Fair enough, but squids only really do black ink and stuff too, so I don't know if it I don't know. Splatoon is taking a lot of liberties when it comes to the biology of squids and octopi. How do you guys feel about this Disney Illusion Island deal?
It looks cute.
I
like
think
it.
I think it looks
cool.
Awesome. It looks like Rayman. It
It
looks like the
reminded
Rayman
me-
games.
It reminded me of what's the Mario one with 4 players?
Mario,
not
Mario
3D.
World, you.
The one with Toads and not Peach.
It could have been Wario.
New
or
Super
Waluigi.
Mario Bros.
Yeah, the new
Hmm.
Super Mario series.
Sure. Yeah, the one that was on Wii U.
Yeah.
And then switched 5 times. Yeah, it looked like that. And that's fun. I like that 2D style of gameplay.
Interesting. I don't care about this game at all.
That's-
I'm so
that's-
glad that you
I was
That's
very pleasantly surprised by this game. I like making games.
I
for
like
some
platformer
reason.
games.
They're
And this one
usually
hits it.
kind of like style savvy in the way that they have no right to be this good sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, making games just hit different sometimes.
The Kingdom Hearts.
Sure.
Am I the only one who played Fire Emblem Engage?
Yeah, I think you are.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I know of it, but I did not
I really
play it.
I really like classic Fire Emblem.
So this is a lot more like classic Fire Emblem.
I know the mechanics enough to discuss this with you, Hunter. Is
Okay.
that fair enough?
Maybe. So Fire Emblem Engage, it's one of those games that when it came out I was kind of off put by the art style. It's grown on me. But mainly I think just the gameplay overall isn't as fun or interesting. The story isn't as interesting. The engage mechanic is super cool and they do a lot of really cool stuff with it. It kind of makes it feel more puzzle based, which Fire Emblem has already been. It's like the coolest part of the game is the engage mechanic, and it's cool because this is more of like an anniversary version of Fire Emblem, whereas a lot of the previous games were just kind of like, here's a new Fire Emblem with a brand new story. Awakening was kind of like a anniversary, kind of celebrating the history of Fire Emblem in a way too, but whereas this game, it has like a lot of the characters from the just history of Fire Emblem in general.
Mhm.
A lot of the newer games, like it has there's like the DLC adds the 3 houses cast into it as emblems that you can like transform into in a weird kind of like fuse with them in a way. And it also has like Corrin and Lucina, and they're adding Chrom and Robin and stuff like that in the DLC Wave 3, I think. So it's way more of an anniversary game than than Awakening in a lot of ways. The fact that like you can run around and just like turn into Marth basically for a sec. But I also have my criticisms that maybe warrants its own discussion anyways, because we're already like over an hour into this one and we've only gotten like halfway through this direct. So I'll save my my opinions on Fire Emblem Engage in the future, but overall I'm liking it actually. I think
I
only
just wanna
4
say-
chapters left. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I appreciate what they're doing with the character of Veronica in particular. She's from Fire Emblem Heroes, the mobile game, and her thing for engage is, you use her, you engage, and she'll send out a random character, but in like the gacha style of Fire Emblem Heroes. it'll do like the same text box and everything, and it's really cool.
Wave 1 didn't have a whole lot. It was basically just like they added a couple of characters. Wave 2, kind of the same thing. It was one of those really cool, like, launch later today vibes. So I played it basically as soon as I got off work. I was downloaded all the extra characters, Hector, Soren, and Camilla. My Camilla is freaking a beast. So is Hector. So that was kind of cool. So especially since I haven't beaten the game yet, it's kind of cool still going through the story and having 2 DLCs to be able to add these characters to my roster with. I don't know if Wave 3 has any story to it, because Wave 1 and 2 hasn't. We just got like a really quick look at Wave 3, which it looks like the only thing that they really showed off were Chrom and Robin were appearing as a new emblem that you can summon, and Veronica. That's basically all that they showed off for Wave 3 at least. But Wave 4 looks like it's actually adding more story. So Harmony, the Fall of Reverie? I don't know how.
I actually think this one looks cool.
It looks super cool.
Yeah.
Very
I know that
one.
It's from the developer that made Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm. This game seems to be more visual novel. I don't think that we saw
Yeah.
any combat, but there was like skill trees or something going on. So maybe
I think this is just a visual novel with branching story paths.
Maybe that was it.
But I think it looks really beautiful.
Yeah, I like the idea of having these like deity type personifications of characters alongside like the regular kind of sci-fi looking story that goes on alongside it. Octopath Traveler 2.
Woo!
I have not
Let's
played
go.
Octopath Traveler yet. I haven't beaten it yet.
Me neither.
I got half the characters, and then I just never kept playing it, but I need to play it because I really liked it. With Octopath Traveler 2, they didn't show off too much of the story, which I'm pretty thankful for, because I don't want to know too much about it. I just kind of want to go in. Just knowing that it exists is enough, to be completely honest.
I feel like people will generally understand what Octopath Traveler is. I mean, you just have to say JRPG, and this is Square Enix, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, like, I should just see that logo and know kind of what it is that this should be.
You know what you're getting into. It's from the Bravely Default guys. It's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a demo available now. I have not played it, but I don't know if I will play it. I downloaded it, but on second thought, I think I might wait until it comes out, because I know nothing about the Katamari franchise. It looks kind of fun.
I like Katamari. It's a lot of mindless fun.
It's like arcadey, very arcade style fun.
Yeah.
I know that this one is a remake of We Love Katamari, I think. Yeah, I think that's like the fan favorite one, right? That's like one of the ones that people really like.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, that game's
I've played them a little bit. I've played them enough to like them, and then that's kind of it. Okay, We Love Katamari is the second game.
I knew it. I was gonna say, with a name like We Love Katamari, I'm like, that has to be the second one.
So they did a remaster of Damacy, which is the first game in the series, a few years ago. So now they're doing a remaster of the second game. And both of those were PS2 games originally.
I don't know how many people have been following Sea of Stars. I've been in love with this game ever since it's been announced. It's from the same people that made The Messenger. It's kind of like a prequel, like several hundred or 1,000 years or something in the past prequel of The Messenger. And even as I was playing The Messenger, I noticed there's like a specific temple or something of like the sun and moon or something, and then the main characters you play as in Sea of Stars represent the sun and the moon, so I'm assuming there's some sort of tie-in there because it is a prequel. But man, it's like a JRPG, old kind of like really colorful pixel art style. As soon as this game was announced in the Kickstarter, as soon as the Kickstarter was announced, I pre-ordered it right away, alongside the physical version and like all the other perks and stuff like that. I know very little about the game because they haven't shown off too much of the story or anything. They've shown off a few of the characters. But man, I cannot wait for this game enough. It looks so beautiful. The gameplay looks amazing. Even the little mini games and stuff like that they've shown off so far look incredible. Like they look like a lot of fun. Even the fishing game. It's
So,
like probably the first time I've ever cared about a fishing game.
the composer for this, or at least a guest one, is Mitsuda, which did Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and
Yeah.
Xenoblade 2. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't heard Chrono Trigger,
Mhm.
specifically the music, that's something that you can listen for hours to.
Yeah, the music is incredible, and just some of the music that we've heard from Sea of Stars already sounds amazing. I just really like just classic JRPGs, and I haven't seen one that looks this good, just like this visually beautiful, since I don't know, Final
First
Fantasy.
Octopath.
Like even then it's a bit different, right? Like Octopath was very
Yeah.
muted, it wasn't super colorful. This is just so beautiful, like rich colors, like all of the characters have like a lot of color going on them, just the world running around the world. The idea of like the fast travel, so much care went into some of like just the small aspects of the game. Fast travel isn't just fast travel. It's like this ancient golem picks you up in a ball and then plays baseball and throws you across the map for another one to catch. You know, it's just like all these like little tiny touches that makes it feel like you're like a lot of care went into this game. It wasn't just like
I
something that was kind of thrown together with a bunch of.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I actually like. I'm kind of rewatching the trailer. I'm actually really excited for the pixel art. They look like they did a really good job on that. That's something that I really appreciate. I love the way the animation flows, and I think they did a good job. So
I agree.
And all the character art too, like that guy wearing 2 eye patches for some reason. It's just so silly looking. I love the idea like one of the party members is a cook, and his weapon and like shield is like a pot lid and like a pot handle. Like, it's just like so silly. It has so much charm to it. I cannot wait for this game. I think it's releasing later this year. I think it got
no,
a release date
releasing
finally, didn't it?
2023. No, it just says 2023.
Oh, just 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And let's once again, can we give some praise to these indie developers?
yeah.
Because they're really, honestly, they're pulling through for everything else that all the AAA and even AA they drop, specifically for JRPGs for some reason.
Yeah.
It seems like Square Enix is the only one that leads the way for them.
And we finally have these guys coming out. The Messenger guys of all things coming out with Sea of
Yeah,
Stars.
no, and I thought that was a fantastic like Ninja Gaiden-esque experience with like
It is.
RPG mechanics, but I'm looking forward to it.
They
Chalk me
went
down
just a
for this one.
completely different direction. It has a demo is available now actually, so you can give that a shot on the eShop. I don't know if I want to play it. I want to go in as blind as possible. I mean, I've already like poured over like every single announcement that they've shown off, like the day-night cycle, the way that they're like all the technology behind the way that they're like changing the sprites for like how the shadows change throughout the day, like that's how light works. That's how like sun and moon work. So, but all those like little things, like I've kept up on like all the announcements, but I'm at that point now where like I don't know how much I want to keep watching. There's a demo available now, but I kind of just want to play it when it comes out because I don't want to spoil myself any more than I've already been spoiled. It just seems
Fair
like
enough.
a really special game. How do we feel about Omega Strikers?
Okay, for this one, as soon as the trailer started, the like announcer dude started saying like duke it out in this free-to-play online multiplayer team-based showdown, and as soon as he said that, my brain kind of turned off. I was like, yeah, this is not a game for me.
that basically describes Overwatch, Valheim, or not Valheim, Valiant, like all these different games.
Yep.
They're like basically like all kind of similar. This one
It's
looks kind of
just
fun.
too
It's kind of
much.
like air hockey though.
Too much words.
Yeah.
I kind of like the air hockey kind of look of it, the gameplay.
This specific game really took off in the. This is very niche, but in the indie VTuber scene.
That makes a lot of sense.
And when I saw it come up, I was like, "Hey, I know this one. I've heard this one before. It's a classic."
So is this just coming out on Switch, or
Yeah, because it's been out on other platforms for a while now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, so that being said, when it comes out, I'll try to give it a shot, and I'll be fair.
Have you played Rocket League?
Yeah, I enjoy Rocket League, but
This
like
reminds me of like a
I played
smaller
it.
Rocket League.
I played it for like a day, and then I was like, yeah, this is pretty good, and then I stopped playing it. But that was before it went free to play, also.
I think of the same thing when I play Slither.io.
I've only watched people play that.
It's a very hypnotic game, and it's a very good example of okay, just one more.
No, the best example of that is Stardew Valley.
Stardew.
Oh yeah, I started the next day. I'll just pick the crop in. There goes the next day. Oh, okay. Well, right into the next day. Oh, okay. 3 a.m. goes by. Oh,
I'm more interested in this one than I am a lot of the other free to play online, all of those other things that you said. I think
It's
I
a mouthful,
played
isn't it?
Valorant for like a second, and it was kind of disappointing. And I played Paladins for like a little bit. I was like one of the best play. I only played for like 30 minutes, and I was just getting my bearings with the game, and I just like destroyed every single online match. I have no idea if it was just super easy. I was playing with real people, but it just kind of felt like kind of boring, a lot more like Valorant or Overwatch or any of those other kind of games. I'm more interested in playing this one because it has pretty unique looking mechanics, like with the it kind of being more of like a tabletop like air hockey type game. I think that's kind of cool. I'd be more likely to play this for the same reason that I like playing Rocket League. Like it's a unique concept in that kind of space. But it also makes total sense because all the games that I just described were also really popular with like the online personality, like the VTubers and all the game streamers and all that too, because it's free and it's a game that all of your followers and stuff can all play very effectively, and it's like collection based, so you can write it off on all that off on your taxes and all of that kind of stuff too. So it totally makes sense why Omega Strikers is kind of striking a chord with that community too. But again, I would just be more likely to play it for the same reason why I really like playing Rocket League. It's at least a unique looking game within that sphere.
Maybe we can try teaming up when it comes out.
Yeah, maybe we can play it. Has anyone played Etrian Odyssey? Any of the Etrian Odyssey games?
No, but I've played Persona Q, which is the same thing.
Okay. I played the demo for one of the games, I think on the 3DS. It didn't really strike as super interesting to me, I guess.
It does not spark joy in me.
Yeah, I tried playing Megami Tensei, the first one, and it's the same. It's the same style too, and
yeah.
I had a little bit of trouble getting into it. I do mean to go back to it though.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of. I hear talk that people don't really like the price point of these games, and it's pretty controversial, I guess.
How
Are you talking about on the secondhand market?
No, for like the way that they're releasing this Etrian Odyssey collection.
Oh, I see.
How much are they?
I believe each of them are $30 or $40 or something like that.
Ooh, I was cringing. I was waiting for it. I was like, it's gonna be 40, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ew, that's gross. This should be like $20 for the whole thing.
You'd think.
Well, how long are they?
I'm not sure.
They're pretty substantial JRPGs from what I understand. I can look up on how long to beat.
Length of the game doesn't dictate the quality of the game.
Ooh, 50 hours for the first game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And the other Etrian Odyssey games, 2 was around 54 hours. Yeah, these are some long games. 74 hours for the third game. I don't know. I don't know if there's, because I haven't delved too deep into this into that franchise. I know people that are very, very into Etrian Odyssey.
Oh yeah,
Um,
people
love these games.
people
but,
definitely like the series.
If there's enough unique content in them, then I could probably see the justification, I think.
From what I
Yeah.
understand, they're just HD remasters.
Mm-hmm.
What was the original on?
3DS, I believe.
3DS?
The original one? Number one?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That style of game they chose to make.
Yep.
Oh,
Huh.
you know what? I can see it. Because it's the 3DS, so it's in
Oh,
and it's a first
yes.
person.
No,
Oh,
the
God.
first game was on the DS.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Sorry. The first
well,
game was
you-
on
I
the
mean, but
DS.
still. But
You ruined the moment. He was on to something.
Sorry. The second
I was
game
about
was on the
to
3DS.
start defending it.
but you know what? Never mind. I won't.
The second game is on the DS, and Etrian Odyssey 3 is also on the DS. I guess the
Okay,
second
they're all
one just
DS
had a 3DS version of it.
Take it
I
back.
don't know
No,
anything
there's
about
no
these
3D
games.
component to this at all.
Yeah. I would give it a shot at some point if I felt like it.
Mm,
Isn't that like normally how you give things a shot?
yeah.
Yeah, I
If
play
you
pretty much
feel-
everything.
I think
Okay.
the first one, or one of them, had a demo on the 3DS. Hey, 3DS eShop is closing pretty soon, so that's a good time to get that demo.
I haven't opened up
Oh, there's
that,
a demo?
that thing in
Yeah.
forever.
Anyways, I think it's cool at least that they're releasing them all on the Switch. If anything, the price seems kind of outrageous, but it looks like you can get the full collection for $80, which still seems pretty steep. For
That's pretty steep for 3DS games.
yeah. The whole game size for all 3 games is only 2 gigs, so I can't imagine that it's substantial enough to warrant $80. But I don't know. Hey, Advanced
Okay, but this
Wars
next one.
1
Yes, this
plus
next
2
one.
reboot camp.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
HR and publishing at the company I work at has informed me that I am not allowed to talk about this game until it releases. Other than to
Then
say
if
that
I-
he has a release date finally after getting delayed, April 21st, which is coming out pretty soon.
So I can talk to it because I actually
Uh,
like the Advanced Wars
yeah.
games.
I'm pretty sure
I-
that's a workaround, maybe. I'm gonna mute my mic. You go ahead.
Okay. So I played Advanced Wars back in I think junior high or something. But this is from the same people that do Fire Emblem. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, how would you like to play Fire Emblem but you don't feel guilty when your units die?
Well, you send them to a different type of war.
Yep, you send them to an actual war. It's a full world war. I love this game. You can make your own maps to play against other people in like the computer on. You can kind of have your own like world war. You start with like just a few soldiers, but then you take cities, you build them up, and you use them as like production hubs to build more armies and take them out. Honestly, I feel like it's a little harder than like a Fire Emblem experience. It's a little bit more complex too. Like you need your air units, and they do certain amount of damage on like land-based units, and then you can have your anti-air tanks going around. You have your ocean like submarines and like carriers. I don't know. In some respects, it kind of reminds me of Civilization towards like the later part of that game. I'm excited that they're doing both these games, and I don't recall what the price point is, but I'm sure it's a much better deal than Etrian Odyssey.
Yeah, I have no sense of nostalgia for the series, but I know it's a game that people are very excited for, and it's cool. I am happy that happened to you.
The price point is $60, by the way. I
Wow,
haven't
steep.
played. I haven't played the first 2, but the only 2 games, so I didn't have too much of a barometer for what this game is. Other than it being kind of like, again, like you said, like from the Fire Emblem devs and stuff like that. And I'm really excited that everyone gets to play it come April 21st.
Well, 60 might, at least for me, that's a little steep. These were Game Boy Advance games at the time, but it looks like they redid everything. So I'm looking forward to it.
Not a lot of comment on that. So Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, guys.
Can I give some constructive criticism to HR on that one?
Look, when the game releases, then I will be able to talk about it.
Okay.
I think it was mainly publishing that didn't want us to talk about it, and we also aren't allowed to talk about like the delay and stuff like that, other than that there is a delay, or there was one rather. And it's finally releasing April 21st. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, guys.
It's more Kirby. We
definitely
know
more
what we're
Kirby.
getting into.
Demo available right after the direct. I played it. It's definitely more Kirby.
Yeah, I don't know. Kirby is just one of those games, man, where I don't know how you can really get excited for a Kirby game because you know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a very forgiving platformer, and you're gonna get the Kirby powers, and it doesn't really change game to game, to be honest. I think the biggest change was that Switch game where it was like actually 3D.
Forgotten Land.
Yeah. So
yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land was pretty different. That's basically been like the biggest change to Kirby since Kirby came out. Each of the games kind of have their own big gimmick. So like Giant Robobots had like the giant Robobots and stuff, for example. But for the most part, it's just more Kirby. Kirby's Kirby, and this is literally just I think just Nightmare and Dreamland, except it's just Return to Dreamland. So yeah,
I think
it's Nightmare and Dreamland, definitely.
So best Kirby game was Kirby's Air Ride, hands down.
Oh, I was gonna say Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but yeah, that's fair enough.
Nope, Kirby's Air Ride. That was the best Kirby game.
I like the idea they get to play as Magolor. Is that how you pronounce the name? Magolor.
That sounds like cool. A wizard in D&D.
He's like a wizard kind of person, and there's like this RPG like ability system, it looks like, which is pretty new to Kirby. I'm glad that they're just doing something different with it, and that it's not just Nightmare in Dreamland. The demo was pretty fun. I mean, it's Kirby, like I said.
Yeah, it's Kirby. There's not much else to say.
We get to talk about the Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay, so the Nintendo Switch Online, generally speaking, I'm disappointed. When it comes to their retro games, I always wonder why it takes them so long to put them onto the consoles. Like, yes, it's nice to get a big batch of games like this, and Super Mario Advance 4, that's fun. WarioWare, I like Mario and Luigi games, that's great. But these are the kind of games that I kind of expected. 6 years into the Switch's life cycle? Like, these are the kind of games that I would have expected coming out day one of such a service.
Right.
And looking back on like what the Wii was able to give us in terms of a virtual console experience, I can't help but look at what Nintendo's doing with this and be like, I feel like you're being stingy with your games, Nintendo.
It's also really strange because the Game Boy is on the regular NSO, and the Game Boy Advance is NSO Expansion Pass, whereas the SNES is on just regular NSO. Why does Advance deserve to be on the Expansion Pass? You know what I mean?
Why does... Okay, I'm going to go back, because in the original Wii era, you didn't have just Nintendo games. You had TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, Commodore games even, I think. You had a lot. You had gaming history as part of your pass. This, while just being Nintendo games, it's not even the bulk of the Nintendo games that at least I grew up with. Like, there's still no N64 games for some reason. And
there's N64.
Oh, there is?
There's N64.
On NSO Expansion Pass?
You know what? I meant GameCube. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant GameCube.
Yeah, that's not happening.
No,
No,
it's
I
not
doubt it.
happening because they can do kind of, this is going to segue into the next one. They can do what they're doing like with Metroid, where they can polish up the game and sell it as
Yeah.
at a full price.
GameCube
And-
is that era where it starts entering the kind of modern era of gaming, even though it's
Yeah.
several generations ago now, but the games hold up a lot more than they do
Yeah. And
before.
but generally speaking, and everybody else can jump in after I'll have my finish up little rant. But I'm disappointed, generally speaking, with how Nintendo handles their old games. It's just too little in a very long amounts of time.
Yeah, especially looking at the way that Square Enix handles a lot of its legacy content, with it being like they'll just release like their old games. Just there you go. They just did all like Final Fantasies 1 through 6. They just did all of them. And like, here you go. Here's Final Fantasies 1 through 6. And we chose like all of the fan favorite best versions of like all of the different translations and stuff like that. And like, oh, that's super cool. They released like I think almost all of the Final Fantasies, 7 through is 13's not on the Switch yet. But 7 through 12 are all on the Switch, all with really interesting emulator options. So like you can like decide to just like give yourself
save states,
like
slow it down.
Yeah, there's like save
Yeah.
states. You can speed up the combat and stuff like that. So if you want to just play at
Quality
like
of life.
1,000 times speed, you can just like do that to get through combat a lot quicker. You can just level up your characters to level 99 if you want to, just if you want to enjoy the story. Just like basic things like that. The way that they handle their legacy content, even outside of the Final Fantasy series too. They've been really re-releasing a lot of their other JRPG franchises too. And the way that they handle it is just so great. And they're just always releasing more and more.
Yeah.
They're just working on them one by one. Whereas you look at Nintendo and you're like, oh, you need to get the online, and then you have to like play this like really specific version of Tetris. Like it's really kind of weird. And then once the Nintendo Switch dies, and then
You're
like
never
you're not
getting
able to
this
play those
again.
games anymore, that's
Yeah.
it. Because you'd have to connect to the Nintendo Switch Online, and you're not subscribed to that anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us and they'll make it to where it's a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to maximize their potential to like continue to profit off of these games in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all they're really focused on with that.
Especially
being
since
said-
just making an emulator and then like making the same emulator and throwing all of your games through it, even if it doesn't work that well, like Majora's Mask, then it's the cheapest way to make a lot more money off your games.
And I was gonna say, that being said, this was probably honestly the highlight of the direct for me, because I just really liked a lot of the games that they showed here, and I've been playing them over the past week.
Yeah.
There's been some
Despite
great options.
despite how poor everything we just said right now, not me but they said right now, it's just like I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Like I appreciate that they're there. I could only hope that things go up from here.
And on top of that, I've seen that comparisons between emulators, the Wii had a better like emulator for classic games than the Wii U and the Switch did.
Yeah.
Wii Virtual Console games play and look better than Wii U Virtual Console games and Switch Online games.
So is that
Yeah.
because they did custom emulators for each game? Because when you needed to when you downloaded a Virtual Console game, you downloaded the emulator too. So my only assumption would be that they custom tailored those emulators in a way for each individual game, which is something that they can't really do with NSO because it's all
guess,
just
but
the
then-
exact same emulator.
If that were the case, then why does it get rolled out so slow?
Because they're
Like,
just
if
trying
control.
to milk
If the-
the profits.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're taking so long for the NSO ones, but for the other one for the Wii, like they cranked those guys out like mad. It's like every week or every other week there was new stuff.
It's because with the Wii, each of the games they released cost like, what was it, like $6 to
Yeah.
$10?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
$5 for any NES game, no matter what, and that is
Yeah.
very steep for an old game like that.
Yeah, and with this one, it's like I don't know for sure. It's like $80 per year for the whole thing?
No,
for the
it's
expansion,
like-
pass,
right?
yeah.
It's $80 for the
Yeah.
expansion pass.
Per year.
To
Oh.
include the expansion pass, like an extra like
Oh,
$40 or something
oh.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you take that $80 per year, and then you weigh in that the total of all these games. I think there's over 100 games in all of these apps.
I think so. Yeah. That's a
So
great
then
deal.
You're getting a less than $1 value per game, per year for all of these games. So in order for Nintendo to make the same amount of money they would have made for these games, like back on the Wii, it would take them like 6-7 years, I think, maybe 8.
Yeah, but
I'm really guessing here. I'm not doing the math on paper.
the expansion pass is also for like expansions for their current games too. So that's like incentive to just go ahead and buy Nintendo games, right?
Yeah, it's
Or
a
at least
great
Yeah, you
value.
forgot about that.
Being said, I'm kind of glad that 2 of my favorite Zelda games are now playable due to this, with
Awakening.
Link's Awakening
Minish-
DX and
yeah.
Minish Cap. Like Minish Cap
Yep.
is
Yeah.
one of my absolute favorites.
Minish Cap
Link's
was
Awakening was
weird.
one of my. It was super weird. I freaking loved it.
Capcom helped make that one.
Yeah,
It's super weird. It's like a
I don't know. It's a fun little game. Everyone should play it, honestly. And Link's Awakening is pretty fun too.
yeah, that one's just kind of trippy. I like that one.
Metroid 2. There's a lot of good games on here. Gargoyle's Quest. I don't know too much about Mario, but Mario Land 2, is that one of the ones that everyone likes?
Mario Land 2
Um,
is I grew up on that game.
Okay.
That one is the first appearance of Wario. So that
Yeah.
Wario is the main bad guy to that one.
And they're doing
And that game is really good too.
They're also bringing in Kirby's Dream Land, which is fun
The
because
first Kirby game. That's the first Kirby game.
exactly.
Well,
and then here comes like a kind of spiritual successor game coming out for the second
It's
time.
Kirby.
The second or third spiritual successor of Kirby's Dream Land to come out.
It's Kirby.
Anyways, I think that the different filters is kind of cool. Like for to get back on the Game Boy thing, you can go to you can use like the same like ugly green color, and like the Game Boy Pocket is kind of black and white, and the Game Boy Color for the
Green,
ones that
sepia,
support it.
or like a choice of 5 colors.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. Like you can play like the Game Boy Color version, but then
Yeah.
like you could also play the regular Game Boy version if like that wasn't if that is one of the games that supports the Game Boy Color. You can still play like the regular Game Boy version if that's what was your like childhood, you know. Or you get the
Something
opportunity to
interesting
play
I
it with the Game Boy
noticed-
Color if that's the first time of you like kind of experiencing that, then that's cool too. So,
Yeah,
sorry, go
something
ahead.
interesting I noticed about it is that with all of the games that were released as Game Boy Color games, it doesn't let you play them in black and white. Even the ones that you are able to do that with the original cartridge, like Super
Really?
Mario Land 2 is one of those, for example.
That kind of sucks.
It's an original Game Boy Black cartridge game.
Yeah.
So it has the color, but you could also play it on the original Game Boy, and in this app it forces the color, which I just think it's interesting choice that
That's
they
not-
made.
That's not how I played it
Mm.
growing up too. I played it the ugly green and black way.
Yeah. One thing that really impressed me is, have you guys seen the Alone in the Dark game?
I know.
It's like one of the most graphically impressive games I've seen on the Game Boy Color.
Oh,
It
yeah.
like
Oh,
it
oh,
blows
yeah.
me away. It's like a 3D survival horror game, like Silent Hill style, but like on the Game Boy Color, it still works in like 3D.
And yeah, it does a very good job like putting you into the world as well as like the pixel art and
Yeah.
how it moves. It reminds me of like Prince of Persia, like the original, like on the computers and SNES and whatnot. Like they do a good job making fluid, and it was on the Game Boy, wasn't it? Like it wasn't even the
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance.
No, that was Game Boy.
The Game Boy Color.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't on just the normal Game Boy.
The Alone in the Dark one? No.
Oh, okay.
That was another thing. They grouped Game Boy and Game Boy Color. I don't like that they did that because those are two separate consoles, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Game Boy Color games also play on the Game Boy anyways.
Not
So-
all of them.
Oh, were there some
There
exclusives?
is a cutoff point.
Oh. So it's like the DSi
You can
where it had like a couple of exclusives, but for the most part,
yeah,
it was
you
just
yeah, you can tell by what the cartridge looks like because the ones that work are they're the same cartridge form factor as the original Game Boy, but they're gonna be black. And then the ones that don't work are the new transparent plastic with like the bump at the top. So it's like
well,
gold and silver are the original type, and then crystal is the color only type, I believe.
could you not play
Although
Crystal
I
on
don't
a
have
Game
those.
Boy on the other Game Boys?
No,
I thought
it
you
stops
could.
you. It specifically has an error message screen that says this is not for this Game Boy. Play this on a Game Boy Color.
Interesting. Okay. I thought that all Game Boy Color games you could play on regular Game Boy. I thought it was literally just like a feature
Very
bump.
select few. Yeah.
Kind of like the
Okay.
new 3DS. New 3DS had some exclusive games.
Just to kind of get back on the rails, Game Boy Advance, two of the games that I'm really excited about, obviously Minish Cap, but Mario and Luigi, if they start bringing over a lot more Mario and Luigi games, because ever since Alpha Dream kind of died as a company, it's one of those weird companies that like struggling companies that Nintendo didn't acquire, even though they like exclusively did Nintendo games and they did the entire Mario and Luigi games.
Yeah.
It's kind of good to see those games kind of live on, I guess, if they're going to bring on more in
Yeah.
the future.
And I would say, arguably, this is the better place to play it than the remake that they put on 3DS. Because I don't know, I really liked this original release back when it came out. And even now, that's probably it's the only game that I've played from this new lineup of games. Yeah, I mean, Mario and Luigi's a great time. Just don't play any of them past Partners in Time, please. That's when they started to dip for me.
Metroid Prime Remaster looks freaking beautiful. Like I
It does.
was a little
It-
surprised this is just a remaster. It looks like a full remake.
Well,
But-
this is what I mean when we were talking about the GameCube games, where they're just new enough where like, wow, you can put some polish on them and sell them for a full price. And this is obviously this is the first one, but I do think they're going to do another two, which is a little odd. If for those that remember, the Wii had a trilogy. It had
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3 on it.
It had the collection.
So while I do see this and I think this is cool, I really do wish that they would have packaged this into a deal.
The rumors are that 2 and 3 are just gonna be very light remasters, like almost straight ports in comparison.
Considering that the work that they did on this, it looks like it looks like a full remake. If the sacrifice
Yeah.
is that they're going to spend a lot more time kind of making the game look really, really beautiful, like all these, not just HD textures, like they changed the way that Samus looks.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed like even just that opening scene, like I saw like a side-by-side comparison, it feels like a completely different game. If they could do
Yeah.
that with the other games too, like I'm happy, especially since this game is cheaper than I'm was a little surprised that they didn't charge us a full $60. It feels so Nintendo to do that, but it's cheaper.
I must have missed that part.
Yeah, it's
Is
like
it-
40 or $50 or something,
It's
which
40.
isn't
Oh,
like
okay.
it's still
Or
more than
that's
Yeah.
that's better. I'll say. I would have been more okay if it was like 30, but 40.
Well,
eh.
I saw some people bringing up that Skyward Sword HD was 60 on release on the Switch,
it was. Yeah,
and this is a much better
Route.
remaster than that
they
was.
did a lot more
It's
for
true.
this game. I mean,
Yeah.
it needed it a lot more than Skyward Sword, I think, because Skyward Sword is a more cartoony art style, and it was also on the Wii, so better hardware. But I think that there's a lot more going on in this Metroid Prime game.
I think so too, and I do want this to be a trend leading up to Prime 4 because oh boy, I've been waiting for that game.
And the fact that it was out now, it was
Yeah.
like, here we're just announcing this remake, and it's out now, and it like isn't just a regular remaster. Like, no, they freaking went all out with it, and it's getting a
took their
physical
time.
version later, which I'm gonna wait for. I'm gonna wait for the physical version to come out, but Like, that's super cool. Like, people were streaming it like right after the direct.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
At this point, do you guys think that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a Switch game, or do you think it's going to be a launch title for Nintendo's next system?
It's staying on Switch, I think.
I think so. Since there's no talk about another system for Tears of the Kingdom, which leading up to this direct, I thought they might just do a surprise revamp of the Switch, like a Switch Pro with the next game. But since they didn't do that, I'm thinking they'll do that for Metroid Prime 4, where it'll be a dual release.
No, I
still think it's a way away. I still think it's a way off. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is coming out this year. And it's been it'll be almost 7 years by the time Metroid Prime comes out from the launch of the Switch.
So Metroid Prime was announced several years ago, and they did need to restart development, but it's been like 5 years now or something like that. And if you take the average of dev time of a game, like 3 years ish, a little bit faster now that tools have gotten a lot better over the years. But they've taken so long with 4. I think it must be releasing this year. I think holiday probably this year if I had to like put a specific date on it.
I'd be happy. I don't see it.
I think especially releasing Metroid Prime Remastered as a kind of way to get us hyped for it in a way, in the same way that Skyward Sword Remastered came out like a year before Tears of the Kingdom was announced. Or sorry, a year before Tears of the Kingdom comes out. I think that makes a lot of sense that this is kind of like a year before Metroid Prime comes out. And considering Nintendo's habit of announcing a new console months before it launches, I don't see us getting a new version of the Switch later this year. So I think that this is definitely going to come out on the Switch, especially since it was already announced for the Switch, and that we're not going to get a new Switch console this year, especially since whenever they talk about how far along the Switch is in its lifespan, they always give around like halfway through its lifespan. That's not the time to be announcing a new console. Not for Nintendo, at least. And considering how long Metroid has taken to make, it's not going to be another 6 years. So assuming that we're halfway through the lifespan of the Switch, it's not going to take another 6 years, I would hope, to make Metroid. So I think that it's releasing probably this year, definitely on the Nintendo Switch.
I don't put it past Nintendo to milk the Switch for that long. I just think they're, especially now, they're very much behind in terms of power of everything else. And I know that's not necessarily their forte, but even now, there's companies that are producing like handheld versions of games that greatly outperform it. I just want to see a really nice looking Metroid on a really nice shiny new hardware.
It'd be nice, but first party Nintendo games tend to run really well anyways. Aside from like one specific part of Breath of the Wild, all first party Nintendo games tend to run really well. So I think that it's still going to look very beautiful.
We're going to take Pokemon out of that equation.
Well, yeah, but again, Pokemon's not first party Nintendo. It's owned by the Pokemon Company International, and Nintendo is a 1/3 shareholder of that company and is a publisher. So in that same vein, I don't consider the Hyrule Warriors any of the Warriors games that have come out that run pretty poorly on the Switch as first party games, because they're not. Were made by third party developers just using the story and stuff. So whereas Metroid is a first party Nintendo franchise, and I see them I see it running pretty well, is the point I'm trying to get across. Being said, if we're trying to move through this a little bit faster, so we've been recording for over 2.5 hours now. Staying on the theme of, I guess, cop games, like trying to solve crimes based games, Master Detective Archives Rain Code. What do we think about this?
Danganronpa.
What they said.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
Danganronpa is the reason why this catches my interest, and then that's kind of it.
It's another, what were we calling it? Police game.
Mm-hmm. Another Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, it's a police game, and Grand Theft Auto is a police game because you can get into a police car.
Lego City Undercover is a real police game.
Yes, but
LA
no, this
Noire.
game,
It's like a crime solving.
I don't know. Out of all of the crime solving games this direct, I think this is the one that stood out the most to me because it was at the end
Interesting.
for some reason. And they had talked about this before, and I just can't get over the art style because I only associate that with Danganronpa. And to see it being used in such a different type of gameplay, like an actual RPG type gameplay, it's interesting.
Betten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD remaster. I think that's super
Card
cool.
game.
Betten Kaitos people have been fighting hard to try to get these games out in some way because they're really, really expensive to get your hands on legally. I think that's awesome. Just in the vein of developers really caring about their legacy content in the way that Nintendo doesn't. I think it's great that we're finally seeing these games with HD remasters too. That's super cool.
In the way that Nintendo doesn't.
The way
Yeah,
that this
exactly.
looks like a GameCube game, though.
Is this a game? Is this a GameCube game or is this a 3DS
I thought this was a
game?
It's a
GameCube game.
GameCube game.
They're coming to Switch. I think that's cool. A new Fantasy Life game. I really wanted to play the first Fantasy Life, but I didn't really get the chance to. I kind of honestly forgot that it existed. But this one seems super cool. The Girl Who Steals Time is a pretty badass name, and I am excited to see what its deal is.
Fantasy Life I played, but I didn't really get much into it because I don't know, the way that it like diverts, it's kind of too open ended for me, I guess.
I tried Farming Simulator once.
It's not the
Didn't
same
really
game.
like it.
It's not the same game.
It's like if Farming Simulator and a bunch of other type of like sim like games were a JRPG. It's an interesting, weird kind of game. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam. Professor Layton's one of those franchises that I've always really wanted to get into.
It's kind of
But
like
I
the Phoenix Wright
never
sort of
did.
thing, where
Yeah, it's in the Phoenix Wright universe,
There's a
isn't it?
following. No, I don't think so.
No, they don't. It's not
I
the
don't-
same universe, but
No, I don't
they've
think so.
had
I
crossover.
thought there was some kind of crossover. Yeah,
there
crossover.
was.
Yeah, it's you know what you're getting with Professor Layton, and my brother really likes those games, so I'm kind of hoping that he picks this one up too because I want to see it.
I have friends that are very much into Professor Layton, and they are very excited for this game. So I'm excited for them, but I will not be playing this one probably.
I think the steampunk
'Cause
kind of aesthetic is really cool.
Yeah, for some reason, Professor Layton games have continuity, so you kind of have to
Oh.
play all of them to
Oh,
get
dear.
them.
Okay, well then I won't be
Yeah.
playing this one.
And that's kind of why my brother liked those games. He enjoyed the story.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC?
Oh, Birdo.
What? Oh, okay. Birdo Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC.
This is the greatest thing that has ever happened to Mario Kart. Birdo has multiple colors, and I find that a fascinating development.
I thought that the Mario Kart 8 DLC's like deal was that it was going to come out in waves and that each wave was going to be a different
Yeah, they have been.
like game?
Yeah.
Okay, so is this the Double Dash one then?
No, that's not Double Dash. It's an entirely new course.
Oh.
It's from it's just Yoshi's Island. Like they took the SNES game and they're making a whole course theme around it.
Okay, so then this is the NES wave then? Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
idea?
They're just making
No,
a
they're
new course.
they're random. They're not themed.
Oh, because I thought that they did that with different courses being like themed after the different games that came out.
No,
No,
they've been doing what they've been doing is 3 retro courses from 3 different Mario Kart games, plus 1 new course. If I remember correctly.
yeah. And the new courses.
They've been pulling them from Mario Kart Tour.
Some
Yeah.
of them are from Tour. Some of them were from
The arcade.
there
The
were a
arcade
couple of GameCube ones. Was there an arcade one?
Yeah,
Ooh.
they've been. That's where they've been taking. I thought the Paris and like the Sydney.
Oh no, that was Tour.
That's
That
Tour.
one was Tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but those tracks are actually pretty good.
Some of them are. Some of them are.
I don't
Some of them are not.
I don't want to recognize Tour's existence, but some of those tracks are pretty good.
I think New York is good, but I don't know if I like the other ones.
just to kind of finish out, I think this direct, they had a bunch of quick announcements just in like a music video type
It's a
thing.
very
where
hot
they just
sizzle reel.
kind of, yeah, like a sizzle reel type thing. Minecraft Legends. I don't know a lot about the Minecraft spin-off games, but it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, the game looks fun.
Blanc
siblings
looks
will love it.
super cool. I freaking
Looks great.
looks so
I like it.
beautiful.
Beyonce liked that one a lot as well.
I think it's a multiplayer or it's a co-op game too, so you guys can play it together.
I
Yeah.
thought you said Beyonce for a second.
Yeah, Brad's gonna play this game with Beyonce.
My
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. This seems like a weird thing to just throw in one of those quick announcements things. It seems like it
I'll jack
deserves
into
its
it.
own
I-
thing.
I played
I have
those
no
games.
opinion on it, but I know that there's a lot of dedicated fans to these games.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty good game, to be honest. Actually, the Battle Network games are good.
Have a nice day.
That one, if you like Hollow Knight, I guarantee you'll like that one.
Interesting. I love
That's
Hollow
it's
Knight.
very much in the same like genre.
Sold. If I remember it. WBSCE Baseball Power Pros.
Let's go.
This one's very interesting because this is a very old franchise that is very popular in Japan.
Well, it's baseball. I know that.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that
I'm
makes a lot of
not
sense, yeah.
sure, but I think this might be the first entry in America. But I haven't done that much research on this series, so I might be wrong about that.
Okay, it's interesting.
But there's like a, I think it's a Konami classic series.
Wow. Is it like an arcade baseball game?
It's been on consoles and arcades, I think. Let me see.
That's a nice history lore drop that you're dropping on us.
I know. Gerardo is the master of obscure ancient video game knowledge.
Esoteric knowledge
thank
coming
you.
from from Gerardo.
Disney Dreamlight Valley? I don't know.
I listen.
Okay,
listen.
go for it, please.
Oh, okay.
I
Please
played this
do.
game for almost 300 hours.
Oh my. Okay.
Plot twist is gonna say don't play it.
No, not exactly.
Okay.
Don't play it yet. It's still an early access.
Don't.
Oh.
It is.
Yeah.
So
I
give it
thought
some
that was
time.
reserved. I thought that was reserved for Steam.
No, it's an early access on Switch.
That just sounds disgusting. But all right.
It's basically just Disney Animal Crossing with elements of like Stardew Valley.
We also got a new Tales game, Tales of Symphonia Remaster. So that's pretty cool. Tales is one of those franchises that I've really wanted to get into, but man, there's just so many games. I don't know if I can jump in now.
Once again, Beyonce loves those games. Loves all the Tales games.
She likes the Tales games. Okay.
Yeah, she does.
Maybe she could give me a recommendation for a good entry point.
It would be that
Um,
one. It would be
And
that one.
oh, it would be that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I hear.
All right, fair enough. And lastly, I think we have Tears of the Kingdom, which I was planning on going all out talking about this one, but we've also been recording for 3 hours, and this is going to be hell to edit. So I think that honestly, there's enough information in this where we could just go off in our completely own, probably 3-hour long video, just discussing all the things that this game has to offer. I don't know. Gerardo and Teresa, I don't know if you guys have played Breath of the Wild. Did you?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh wow! I didn't realize.
Well, maybe that'll
I've
be
played
just like
every
a
90s Zelda game except the CDI ones. That's it.
maybe that'll be just a Brad Hunter episode, or maybe if Brad's fiance wants to hop in. We did a couple of videos with her before actually together.
Yeah.
Discussing Breath of the Wild actually. So actually it'd be really cool if she wants to hop on the podcast. We can talk about Tears of the Kingdom maybe. No promises.
Sure. If we want, we can go over some quick notes of what we were thinking when we did see the trailer, and then afterwards
Oh,
we can do a
man.
more deeper dive.
Yeah, just I guess to quickly go over it. I'm scrolling through it now. New enemies?
There,
Like a lot
there
of new
was-
enemies.
There was some new enemies. I'll have to look back. I don't know about a lot, but I did see some new enemies and new ways to interact with those enemies and how they interact with each
So
other.
yeah, it looks like there's the Kargar, what I'm assuming are the Kargaroks from Wind Waker, and I think a couple of other Zelda games,
Mhm.
um, with the same kind of mechanic of like carrying bokoblins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, Bokoblin bosses, those like big old fat bokoblins that have like those
Mhm.
battle horns. What I'm assuming is Redeads. What like
It,
cool, we get to see Redeads again.
yeah, I
Um,
thought we saw a snippet of what this game's redeads are going to look like, because it seems as
yeah, it was
though
like one scene.
every generation has like their version of what a redead is.
Yeah,
And
which is what makes me
it's good
feel
to
like a
see.
little bit more. What I'm assuming is Gleeok, the dragon with three heads on Hyrule Bridge from Breath of the
Mhm.
Wild. Facing Hyrule, like kind of on the opposite side of where people usually approached that bridge from, at least in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So
So
maybe that's guarding like a some kind of dungeon or something. We could speculate a lot about that.
what I'm hoping for is that they just have more variety in the overworld bosses, instead
Mhm.
of it being just, like those giant looking bokoblin things, and just, what is it, the Morduga and
Molduga, yeah.
like Lionels strewn about. That was generally all you really got out
Yeah,
of bosses out of Breath
one
of
of
the
my
Wild. So
main complaints with Breath of the Wild in general was that there was really only a handful of enemy types. There was like the different Lins, so like Moblin and
mhm,
Bokoblin, and I guess there was the
big
Hinox.
the big
Technically,
one.
that's not a Blin, but then like Lizalfos and the Wizrobes, and that was basically it. And as far as bosses goes, technically there was only like I kind of forget
The
about the
bosses were
Molduga a lot.
even more
But
underwhelming. Like the dungeon bosses were kind of underwhelming. Even Ganon himself was underwhelming.
mhm.
They all had the similar aesthetic, and
a
it
gold
just wasn't as
Lionel was a gold Lionel, which is technically not a boss because it doesn't even have that like big health bar that appears across the screen. It's technically just like a regular like
it's the
enemy.
hardest thing to fight in the game.
Yeah, and it's harder than a lot like most of the bosses in the game.
It's harder than the final
Um,
boss.
but it looks like there's a lot more, if not variety, because they are adding some variety with the new Bokoblin boss, Redeads,
Hmm.
and the Kargaroks. What I'm just assuming all of these things. Um,
The
if that's the names for all
flying,
these things.
the bigger flying bat.
Yeah, the Kargaroks. So those with those being added, I think that's pretty cool. But also just the different enemies seem to have like different helmets and horns and stuff going on. Like we
Yeah.
see like even the red not Bacop Moblins that we see in like other trailers have different helmets than the one in this trailer. So like clearly
Hmm.
there's some kind of like there's going to be some kind of unique gameplay aspect to kind of attacking like the combat of that.
Yeah.
Different bokoblins carrying like mining equipment and stuff like that is going to be kind of interesting. It looks
I'm
like there's
really
some
hoping
malice
that
infused enemies. Like hopefully some of they take some of the Age of Calamity stuff with like the lightning infused enemies, and we definitely see malice infused enemies in this game with like the Lizalfos and the Bokoblin.
a lot more so than in the last game, where, I mean, the last game it was mostly just resurrect them, and then sometimes at night they get stronger, but
Yeah,
about it.
but then like in this, we see some malice infused Bokoblins and Lizalfos, which whereas before there was basically just regular old like different levels of hardness of
Tears.
Bokoblins. That was the different, and then maybe the different weapons if you want to count that. But with this, like having like malice infused Lizalfos, like what does that look like? How is that combat going to be? I
Those are
think
the
that's super
kind of
cool.
like when malice gets infused with a little boss like that. That's when like a boss should just kind of like pop out in a similar vein to what we fought in like Breath of the Wild, like those kind of bosses, but just with the unique spin on whatever creature it took over.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Have you didn't play Age of Calamity, did you?
That's
The
the
prequel, the Warriors game.
That's the Warriors game. I
Yeah.
did. I don't know if I fully beat it. I got to like spoilers for those around. It's kind of an old game now, but
Right.
they did go back. Like the people of the future went back into the past, and I kind of
Right.
played a little bit beyond there. And unfortunately, other games started taking priority.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the part where the story starts diverging from what we know happened
Yeah,
in the original.
yeah,
It's like that's when it becomes kind of its own story. So that's kind
Yep.
of unfortunate that that's where you start playing. Yeah, like there was like electricity infused guardians and stuff like that, for example, or like fire infused moblins, stuff like that, which was a bit more interesting. And then later in the game, you start getting into more difficult type things like malice infused guardians and malice infused other enemies, which was super cool. Like mainly only a few things really worked on them, like the divine weapons and stuff like that, which was a kind of like a unique way to make things harder. Like, yeah, it has a weakness like the others, but it's not as readily available to you usually. So if they're bringing that into this game with just like the regular enemies, like the Bokoblins and Lizalfos, I think that's super cool.
Yeah,
Especially
I would
it looks like they're
appreciate
just in the overworld. Like that Moblin is just mining.
Yeah. There's actual interaction, and here's the thing that I really wanted out of Breath of the Wild. I love traversing the world, but the world doesn't feel lived in. There's some villages that you can do some things in, but there's no real reason to go there outside of like maybe you want to buy something to make a certain dish. But
Right.
there are some overarching quests, side quests that are cool. I think there's like 2 that I remember on the top of my head. One where you basically make a village, but it's not as comprehensive as like a game like Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, which I know they're very different games with very different feels and what they're going for. But in the comparison that I'm going to make is there's a lot more side quests and a lot more to do, and it feels more rewarding doing those quests. Where in Breath of the Wild, it was kind of more of a chore to do that quest because I know there's nothing interesting at the end of this.
Yeah.
I know if I get a reward, it's going to be something that breaks, or it's going to be a rupee that I don't care to spend because I have too much, or it's just going to lead me to like maybe a shrine. Which
And I hope that there's a little bit more to this game regarding those side quests. And I think
Yes.
as far as making the world feel lived in, making the world feel more alive, definitely like finding these mining outposts. They showed, I think, 2 in this trailer mining outposts. One of them seems very story relevant in like the underground area, and there's a bunch of spirits, very like Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess kind of inspired, like fetch quest, those little like mini quests. Spirits on the ground that you're like collecting. Maybe those are the tiers of the kingdom, which we could talk a lot more.
This whole game gives me kind of like that Skyward Sword feel with what they're, I think story wise, what they're trying to do with it, and that gives me a problem because I'm very much into the lore of all this stuff, and I'm like, Nintendo, are you giving me another freaking prequel? Is that what's going on? Is that what's happening? Don't you dare do this to me again.
No, this is definitely takes place after Breath of the Wild. A lot of people have pointed out that a lot of the civilizations that we saw in Breath of the Wild are more built on in the trailers that we've seen. I think having a separate episode where we talk a little bit more about everything that we've seen so far and comparing it to Breath of the Wild would be interesting.
Yeah.
Especially regarding the story, because I feel like I could go on a lot about the story and I'm trying to hold back.
So I will leave the last thing that I do want to talk about is Ganon's, or supposedly Ganon's.
What we're assuming is Ganon.
I am assuming it's Ganondorf, and I know that voice actor is from a popular YouTube channel. I think it's Critical Role.
Yes.
Yeah, he's also in D20, I think, too.
Yes.
That's not Ganondorf. That's Matt Mercer.
That's what I'm feeling. Actually, I'm not feeling that to be Ganon. I'm kind of hoping it's not Ganon.
No, I think it's Ganondorf.
I know. I think
it's the Gerudo, the guy.
Yeah, I think it's Ganondorf, but I'm not. I don't like it as Ganondorf. If you know what I mean. Like I don't.
Same. I'm kind of hoping it's
I don't
a bit
feel the
more
presence.
interesting, but we'll have to see. Especially since we don't. His voice, Matt Mercer's voice, kind of feels
it's a good voice.
Like
I
he's
just don't think
already.
I don't think
It doesn't look
Ganon's
decrepit
voice.
in the same way.
Yeah.
I guess that we've seen. Maybe they're kind of hiding what that character Ganondorf ends up looking like, but
Yeah,
or maybe it's not Ganondorf. Who knows? We could talk about that a lot more.
I hope it's not, because I
Mhm.
think that voice doesn't belong on Ganondorf.
I like
I-
Matt Mercer's voice. I've worked
I
with
do
Matt
too.
Mercer before. He's a cool guy. He's really, really nice, just genuine guy. From
He voices Crom.
he voices Crom too.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the kind of that's the kind of character that gives me that's the vibes it gives me. It's
Yeah.
giving me. It's that
We had a
kind
lot of
character.
complaints about the voice acting in Breath of the Wild too, though. To be completely honest, so
Well, I hear people's complaints. I'm just gonna disagree with them. I do like
Okay.
I like Zelda. I like the king. Um,
oh
maybe
yeah, I
not-
like him. I like Rome.
maybe not Hetsu, but you know,
Oh.
not everybody's a banger, and that's fine.
I had no issues with Hestu. I liked Rivali, and that was pretty much it.
Rivali's good. I liked Rivali. I liked Urbosa. I liked everyone. Who do they have a problem with?
I didn't like Zelda. I didn't like
I like Zelda.
yeah, I didn't like Goron Champion, Daruk. I didn't like Daruk as much. Mifa felt a little forced sometimes, but I kind of chalked that up more to the voice direction more than anything. I think that all these voice actors are great. I just don't know if they fit the characters super well. And for that matter, Matt Mercer is kind of right on the dot.
Yeah, he's
I
right
don't
up
know
there.
if he
Unfortunately,
matches, unfortunately.
yeah, I didn't feel intimidated, and that's what I want in my Ganondorf. I want to feel intimidated, like that Twilight Princess Ganondorf, like his laugh, that really deep, like almost
Right.
Dracula laugh. That's the kind of presence that I want in a voice for a Ganondorf.
All right. Assuming that we want to cut it off there because we've been going for over 3 hours now. How did you guys feel about this direct overall? I felt that it was really good, like compared to stuff that we've had before.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my little score. I'm gonna give it that B, and I'll get more into Tears of the Kingdom in another video. But I think overall it was a B. I got some good games that I liked out of it. Metroid is always nice. I love the Metroid series. I look back and think Splatoon, Bayonetta. I actually am more curious on Bayonetta than anything else. I like the Disney, Xenoblade, Pikmin 4. Those are the games that I'm looking forward to. I think there's a lot for a lot of people here, and that's why I think it's a solid show.
Yeah. When I look at it, I see a lot of games that I personally care a lot about. Pikmin 4, Dead Cells, Splatoon, Fire Emblem Engage, Octopath Traveler 2, Sea of Stars. I didn't care too much about Kirby. I'm a Kirby fan, but I didn't care too much about that game. Metroid Prime, Fantasy Life. I would like to get to Tears of the Kingdom. Freaking Tears of the Kingdom. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There was a lot of stuff that like I at least particularly like. And just a lot of the games that they introduced, like Deca Police, and Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective, a lot of these games, like I'm actually super interested in that we're seeing for the first time. I don't know if we're going to be the kind of podcast that gives everything a rating, but since you started it, I give it
No,
an A, maybe an A minus, like if anything. But I feel like it was an A tier direct overall.
I'm on the B train.
You're on the B train. There was no Smash.
There doesn't have to be
It will
Smash
never
for
be
it to be an
Smash
A,
for me.
but it certainly helps.
Okay. What did Teresa think?
Okay, so I don't know what I want from Nintendo anymore. I've noticed.
That's a very good. That's a very good way to wrap that.
I think I have everything I want, but at the same time, I don't think I do. Like I don't. Yeah, I just don't know what I want from Nintendo anymore. I feel satisfied with it. It's like I'm gonna play maybe one game out of everything that was in this direct. I enjoy the ride for what it is. I like the excitement behind new game announcements, even if I'm not gonna play them myself. I'm always probably gonna have opinions, but as a Nintendo fan, I really do not know what I want right now. I just want games to work. I want games that they put out to be active and complete.
I think a lot of the franchises that you care a lot about are underrepresented in this direct, probably. but I think that there was a lot there for kind of the general Nintendo fan base. If it wasn't maybe interesting to like specific franchises that we haven't seen in a while, or a lot of even popular Nintendo franchises like Pokemon and stuff that were kind of underrepresented here. I think that they're probably planning something for Pokemon on their own to come.
Oh yeah, it's Pokemon
Pokemon Day coming.
Yeah.
In just a few weeks. Overall, I think it was a great direct for a lot of people that are interested in a lot of the more like Nintendo properties, and even just some really solid third parties showing up as well.
Yeah, this is knowing the type of person you are, Hunter. I would say this is a very Hunter direct. It had
it
Pikmin,
is a very Hunter direct.
It had Pikmin. It had Zelda. It had
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem. Like
Octopath.
Yeah.
And that A is really shining through.
Fair enough, Metroid. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that's why I give it an A. It's just a lot of stuff that I personally am interested in.
I have one friend who's not very interested in Smash Brothers at all, and I come from a community of very hardcore Smash enthusiasts, and so now I really understand how she feels when there's a direct solely dedicated to stuff that you're not really interested in, I suppose. But you're happy for the people that are excited.
Thank you, everybody.